welcome to Wake and Bake News, and I'm your host, Shampoo VTA, with buds today. Isn't that nice? My family really loves me. They helped me get this. It was so sweet, because I just didn't have enough money to get all the way to the end of the month. Dentist stuff is expensive. You gotta forego things. Yeah, eat a lot of top ramen, man. It affects your health in other ways. Paying off medical bills affects your health in other ways. Because they're too damn expensive. Okay. I'm just loving these buds I got. Let's see if we can zero in on this. Notice that it seems to focus better at night. During the day, it's struggling. So I guess it's like that one camera guy was saying, it has to do with the light in the room, not necessarily the camera. There we go. See how it oh yeah, now I get it. Well, that's what I'm supposed to be looking at. I was listening to a photographer say, it's not your camera, it's the light. And I'm like, well, there's nothing I can do here. I mean, I could put bed sheets over the window, I guess, but I'm not going to do that. Sorry. Okay, so I've got several stories that I already pretty much read through and recorded the video for, but I'm going to talk about them, of course, for an intro thing, and of course smoke weed with you. And that this might help preserve my weed. And plus, it really cuts down the time, because as soon as I see the story in my PJs, I can immediately, hit the record and screen capture and start reading instead of, okay, now I gotta get dressed, brush my teeth, and get ready, and then talk on camera. It's so much easier. First time I see the story, I go, okay, this will be a good one, boop, 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 and start reading. You know what I mean? So that's basically what I'm doing to try to shorten things. So it takes a long time to upload this stuff. It's eaten up a lot of my time. Once again, thank you to Toasted Gentleman for the idea for the glass beads. I'm never going to get them out of here. Once I had to put them through that little hole right there. And the ice catcher stops them from coming out. But I don't want them out of there, so they're fine. They could be in there forever now. It's okay. I had to find ones that fit. They weren't quite small enough. I hear my husband. We made a boo-boo. We left one of the coin boxes out for the laundry machine. People thought we were robbed. It's like, no, we're stupid. Let me go help him. There you go, baby. So was it us?
No.
Oh, somebody actually did get into the laundry room. Oh.
For probably $10.
$10? Yeah. That's what I was saying. I remember working for the school district, the little sweethearts, just about chiseled off the entire doorknob for the cafeteria, right? Because they wanted to get about $20 worth of snacks for a party they were having. It would have been cheaper if the school district just gave them the snacks. It's spring break. The little darlings are out and about unsupervised, and they need their little money for their little parties, because McDonald's is now going to have, what did I read? Carl's Jr. wants to experiment with automation, so there goes all their little teenage job training programs and stuff. I also heard some sort of ridiculous thing that said that, because California is raising minimum wage to $15 an hour, that's going to introduce, automation. And I'm like, no, automation's coming anyway. $15 is to offset that the one guy that's left watching all the machines, like the guy at the convenience store that watches a bunch of robots that feed you hot dogs and nachos and shakes and coffee and orange juice and all these things. There's one guy that's just watching this garden of machines that produces food for people, right? Make sure he gets paid a decent wage instead of getting jacked on minimum wage, you know, while it's a fucking Richie Rich man dances off with the robots happily forever after. I don't think so. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be okay that 5 people on Earth, or whoever these rich people are, suck off of the rest of the human race, you know, just because automation showed up. I don't think that's how this is going to go. I think everybody has a birthright to enjoy this. Our families worked hard to get the human race to this point. Rich man ain't going to jack us right now. I've decided you're no longer necessary. No. No, that's not. You're going to get a fight, I'll tell you that. You better be ready for that. Gosh, this looks so funny on camera. It's like a fish tank. I see into the future of my crystal ball. Oh, that's funny. There should be fish swimming by in it. That'd be great. Okay, so let's get into what I was going to talk about with the news. So the first story, pardon me, and I'm doing this because, okay, I'm pissed at Obama. I think the motherfucker played a lot of people. I think he's like fucking Bill Clinton and any liberal bullshit fucking artist that came up and went, yeah, I used to use weed. And then they fucking got elected because they wrote in a book or some shit they used to smoke copious amounts of weed, putting the idea in people's heads that this guy was going to be supportive, then gets up to the White House and goes, huh? What? I don't know what you're talking about. What? I never said nothing. This is one of the major things that turns me off about Bernie Sanders is, my brother described it excellently. Bernie Sanders has always held these positions, but he's been basically over in Vermont or wherever the fuck he comes from. So that's why we've never fucking heard of him. And now he's all over the national stage. It kind of looks shallow, you know, because when I go searching for marijuana stories, Bernie Sanders picture, Bernie Sanders promises Bernie Sanders. And I'm like, look, man, I just went through this with fucking Obama. And I could smell a rat then. I knew that was bullshit. Come on. I already went through this with fucking Bill Clinton's fucking ass. And if you see pictures of him from college, I'll show you when, he looks like a fucking total stoner. Alrighty, so that's what they look like back then. She was pretty hot in that dress and everything, but they definitely look like they were very hip. You know what I mean? So here is Obama's drug addiction is a health problem and not a criminal problem.
Obama drug addiction is a health problem and not a criminal problem. Speaking at the Drug Abuse Summit in Atlanta, the U.S. President committed to tackling heroin and prescription opioid epidemic with prevention and treatment. Which sounds so great, but I'm still not terribly happy he could do so much more. But, I mean, today there are a couple of very positive stories about things that Obama did, so we're going to give him the time he certainly deserves for doing that. He could do more, and I really need him to do more. This is not enough, but it's a step in the right direction. Oh. What now?
It's totally a war.
Oh my goodness, how I dislike advertising. I mean, it just blows the vibe. It's like, you must watch this puke that is going to be like torture, like you're being in Guantanamo and you're being waterboarded in order to get information. You just have to put your face up against this blowtorch in order for us to tell you what's going on. Ugh, I hate advertisements so much. Let's hear what the president has to say now instead of the derpy derp advertisement. With volume.
Is to reduce demand for drugs. And the only way that we reduce demand is if we're providing treatment and thinking about this as a public health problem and not just a criminal problem. The problem we have right now is that treatment is greatly underfunded. We have proposed in our budget an additional $1 billion for drug treatment programs in counties all across the country. And my hope is that all the advocates and folks and families who are here and those who are listening say to Congress, this is a priority. We've got to make sure that incredibly talented young people like Crystal are in a position where they can get the treatment when they need it. The most
Okay, yeah, like Congress is going to do that. The Republican-controlled Congress. Oh yeah, let's all hold our breath for that. That's great. So basically, that really kind of didn't do much for us. Commenting Tuesday to take on America's growing heroin and prescription opioid epidemic by devoting resources to prevention and treatment rather than to the war on drugs, policies of the last few decades, for too long, we've viewed drug addiction through the lens of criminal justice, Obama said at a conference in Atlanta. The most important thing to do is reduce demand, and the only way to do that is to provide treatment, to see it as a public health problem and not a criminal problem. The president said he hoped his participation in the panel, part of the National Prescription Drug Abuse Heroin Summit this week, would draw attention to the shift in approach, exemplified by a series of efforts aimed $116 million at treatment that the administration laid out earlier in the day. When I show up, usually cameras do too, Obama said. My hope is that it provides a greater spotlight to help solve this problem. CNN, he's using the bully pulpit, in other words. CNN chief medical correspondent Sanjay Gupta, who moderated the discussion, said the aim of the panel was to focus on a path forward on solutions to the epidemic, which claims 28,000 lives in 2014, a four-fold increase in opioid overdoses since 2000, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Others in the panel, including Crystal Ortel and Justin Luke Riley, two recovering addicts who now help others, and Baltimore Health Commissioner Lena Wynn, Obama referred to fixes needed in insurance, healthcare, and federal and state governments to stem the increase in addiction, which he said would not only help addicts, but save in societal costs for their addiction. Ortel recounted using heroin in the bathroom while her two children were at school. When told a story of sending an addict back to the streets when treatment was unavailable, only to see him later die of an overdose in the emergency room. Wynn said that care for addicts is currently often unavailable. One of the worst realizations as a doctor is that you can't help someone. It's inhuman and ineffective. Please pardon the ridiculous Microsoft ad. She said, Ortel said her recovery depends on buprenorphine, a drug that combats opioid addiction, counseling, and helps others. Obama's plan, introduced earlier in the day, includes a proposed Health and Human Services Department HHS rule that would allow qualified doctors to increase the number of patients to whom they can prescribe whatever this drug is, from 100 to 200. It also treats $94 million in new funding that the Department of Health and Human Services released earlier this month, so that the 271 community health centers could expand medication-assisted treatment of opioid use disorder is underserved communities. This funding could result in the center treating 124,000 new patients, according to the White House. The plan also includes $11 million for state to distribute naloxone, a drug that reverses opioid overdose. Obama also highlighted a nearly completed HHS rule that would treat substance abuse and mental health services like medical and surgical benefits under Medicare and Children's Health Insurance Programs, CHIP programs. The White House said this could affect more than 23 million people. Michael Collins, deputy director of the National Affairs of Drug Policy Alliance, said the increased focus on helping addicts rather than interdicting drugs and incarcerating dealers continues Obama's commitment to doing more than previous administrations to roll back on the war on drugs. Oh, please. Obama's plan builds on his call last month for an additional $1.1 billion in congressional funding to fight the growing public health problem, according to the White House. But Obama made clear in his remarks to the panel that those $1.1 billion are still not allocated until the money comes through. It's just an idea. He warned, if we don't invest in this, we're going to keep on being penny wise and pound foolish. He said addiction has historically not been viewed as a public health problem, in part because it was viewed as affecting the poor and minorities. It was seen as a character flaw and not a problem. But the way we have looked at cigarettes as a public health problem and traffic fatalities as a public health problem, if you take the same approach here, it can make a difference.
Obama, drug addiction is a health problem and not a criminal problem. And this is all about, opioids and stuff. And I just have one thing to say. Why don't you offer people a safer drug for their pain than opioids? It seems pretty simple that one of the things you could do to help this situation is to not, on one hand, help the companies that are prescribing these drugs. Yes, it's great that you're having doctors, record these things, but they're still prescribing it to 9-year-olds. Really, I think what you have to address is the FDA and their rules. And I think you have to go and offer people an herbal option that doesn't harm them. If they have to use oxycodone, fine, but it better be a damn good reason, because there is another option. See what I'm saying? Up to a certain point, it would work. Okay, the next one is, once again, about Obama. Obama issues 61 commutations. So he is released a bunch of drug offenders, and this is he's overall, I think, released 248 individuals during his presidency. So let's take a look at this.
Obama issues 61 commutations, USA Today. Washington. President Obama commuted the sentences of 61 prisoners on Wednesday, part of an effort to more aggressively use the commutation power and call for changes to sentencing laws, particularly with respect to low-level drug offenses. Most of the recipients are low-level drug offenders whose sentences would have been shorter if they were convicted under today's laws, Obama said in a Facebook posting. Obama also had a lunch meeting with formerly imprisoned individuals who have been recipients of commutation, saying in his post, simply put, their punishment didn't fit the crime. In a blog post, White House counsel Neil Eggleston said that 61 individuals listed Wednesday were in prison under outdated and unduly harsh sentencing laws, and more than 1/3 of them were serving life sentences. During his presidency, Obama has commuted the sentencing of 248 individuals, more than the previous 6 presidents combined, Eagleston said. And in total, he has commuted 92 life sentences. In calling for reform or overly punitive sentencing policies, Eagleston wrote, "Despite the progress we have made, it is important to remember that clemency is nearly always a tool of last resort that can help specific individuals but does nothing to make our criminal justice system on the whole more fair and just." He added, "So while we continue to work to resolve as many clemency applications as possible, and make no mistake, we are working hard at this, only broader criminal justice reform can truly bring justice to the many thousands of people behind bars serving unduly harsh and outdated sentences." Eagleston comments reflect the difficulties in revamping the pardon process, which former pardon attorney Deborah Leff noted in the letter she wrote when she resigned after less than 2 years on the job. In her resignation letter obtained by USA Today, Leff said the Obama administration instructed Justice Department attorneys to neglect applications for presidential pardon in order to give priority to the Justice Department's initiative to release low-level offenders from prison. Leff wrote that the administration focused on the clemency initiative at the expense of traditional pardons and commutations means that the request of thousands of petitioners seeking justice will lie unheard. In a letter to Wednesday's recipients, Obama said the power to grant pardons and commutations embodied the basic belief in our democracy that people deserve a second chance after having made a mistake in their lives that led to a conviction under the law. The number of clemency cases has expanded since the administration announced a new initiative in 2014. As of earlier this week, there were 10,773, I'm making stuff up, 10,073 clemency cases pending, 3 times as many as in 2013. And that doesn't count thousands more cases seeking free legal help through the Clemency Project, an outside consortium set up to assist with the initiative. In her letter, Leff said she fully supports the administration's groundbreaking and much-needed launch of the Clemency Project. Launch of the Clemency Project. But given that the department has not fulfilled its commitment to provide just a second. Tiki! Tiki, quiet down, honey. But given that the department has not fulfilled its commitment to provide the resources necessary for my office to make timely and thoughtful recommendations on clemency to the president, given your statement that the needed staff will not be forthcoming, and given that I have been instructed to set aside thousands of petitions for pardon and traditional commutations, I cannot fulfill my responsibility as pardon attorney, she said. In his blog post, Eagleston said the White House will host a briefing Thursday on life after clemency, in which advocates, academics, and administration officials to discuss share ideas on the president's clemency initiative and ways to improve paths to reentry. Recipients of commutations will discuss their own experiences during the briefing, he said. Citing Republican support for sentencing reform, Eagleston said that Americans across the board acknowledge that the criminal justice system is broken and needs to be changed.
Aw, virtual toke time. Shh, there you go. We'll get some smoke going. Let's do another one. more realistic this way. More realistic with smoke in the chamber. Be cool if I somehow get it to come out. There you go. Virtual toke. Onward and upward. Next is a crazy ass story. My husband said, wow, this is really going to make a big difference. Whoopi Goldberg funds medical marijuana company for women. She's actually got like products and stuff coming out. Oh, I'm going to have to silence the commercial. And for some reason, they won't let you mute it directly on the screen, so you have to go to your actual volume and mute it. And let's pause this nonsense. Okay, so she has nice products and stuff. Let's see. Let's see if I can save the image. Oh yes, good. So I'll show you that here. I love the names. Rub, soak, savor, relax. I love that. There you go. That's what I'm talking about, you know. It don't have to be so fancy schmancy that, you know, it couldn't show up maybe at the local drugstore or something eventually. But it's nice packaging. It looks mature, adult, futuristic. You know, it looks like the future to me. That looks like the future of cannabis to me. Okay, so here's this story.
Whoopi Goldberg has a new title, Ganjapreneur. The comedian and host of The View announced her own official medical marijuana business, which is a joint partnership with award-winning edibles maker Maya Elizabeth. Aptly named Whoopi and Maya, the company will sell pot-infused salves and edibles aimed at helping relieve the pain of menstrual cramps. Goldberg, who publicly supports marijuana, was motivated into action by the more than 50% of women who experience painful cramps each month, herself included. Goldberg spoke about the company, saying, "When I asked whether there was medicinal cannabis out there to give relief to women with cramps, I was told that would be a niche product. We're here for that niche, which is made up of half the population." The company's first 4 products will be available in April.
The next one is City gives marijuana dispensaries new deadline of April 29th to come onside or close their doors. Now this all sounds really super threatening, but they're saying even if they don't make whatever deadline, that they're not necessarily going to see the Vancouver police bust down the door. So let's take a look at this story.
City gives marijuana dispensaries new deadline of April 29th to come onside or close their doors. Onside? Okay. Straight.com. The city originally told business owners that any storefront not moving through the regulatory process was to cease operations on April 20th. Now that date is, as it appears on a city website, has been updated to read April 29th. In a telephone interview, Andrea Toma, Director of Licensing and Property Use Inspections for the City of Vancouver, told The Straight the change is not an extension per se. The deadlines are specific to when a 6-month count starts, she explained. It depends on when they were notified. Toma added that while many dispensaries therefore have slightly different deadlines, the absolute date by which the very last of them should close is the end of the last Friday of April. Vancouver became the first jurisdiction in Canada to adopt regulatory frameworks for the over-the-counter sale of cannabis when City Council passed a series of bylaw amendments and created a category of business license in June 2015. In the rush that followed, the city received 176 applications. Since then, a majority have dropped out of the race by failing to meet subsequent deadlines for paperwork, or were kicked out by the city finding them to contravention of the new bylaws. In contravention, whatever. According to Toma, only 6 dispensaries have been approved for development permits, while another 17 are under various stages of review and on their way to likely approval. Many more dispensaries were found to be in contravention of. This must be a word I'm just not getting. Okay, I'm not going to get stuck up on that. Getting hung up on a word. Of the city's bylaws, but have failed appeals with the Board of Variance. Okay. According to Louis N.G. Nig, the board's secretary and Freedom of Information officer, 16 dispensaries filed appeals. Since then, the board has heard 9 of them. 8 were dismissed, and 1 was adjourned to allow the relevant parties to produce additional information. Sounds like a math test from a test at school. If the train is traveling 60 miles an hour. The next round of appeals hearings is scheduled to begin on April 6th. The entire process is expected to run through to the end of November. Meanwhile, Thomas said that a parallel process of declustering also remains ongoing. That refers to one of the new bylaws that states 2 dispensaries should not operate within 300 meters of one another. Thomas said the city's licensing and property use inspection department is assessing those applications. She added that when all is said and done, that will likely result in additional 6 storefronts receiving tactic approval to continue on through the process for development permits. Jamie Shaw is president of the Canadian Association of Medical Cannabis Dispensaries. She called attention to a gap between the date dispensaries are ordered closed at the end of April and the time by which it is expected the variance board will finish with approvals. A lot of our members, their board of variance meetings are not until May, June, or July, she said. They are scrambling right now. They are trying to do everything they can to comply with everything, but at the same time, they have BOV, Board of Variance, inspections scheduled for dates after they are supposed to close. Oh, Tiki's happy today. He's all chirpy. Shaw noted some of those businesses will have to keep paying rent and try to maintain staff for months after they are instructed to cease operations. Just a sec. Tiki! Honey. Tiki! He's playing with aluminum foil over there. Toma acknowledged some businesses will be left in limbo. She said that means storefronts that do continue to sell marijuana past the April 29th deadline will not necessarily see the Vancouver police charging through their doors on the morning of April 30th. That depends on the relationship that they've established with us over the last 2 months, she said. It's based on the information that we have to date in terms of what kind of an operation they are running.
fun, stupid little guitar to play. Alright, so the next story is expanded Monroe Street Fair features Chong, Japanese punk, and 420 countdown.
Expanded Monroe Street Fair features Chong, Japanese punk, and 420 countdown. TheWeedBlog.com. The Monroe Street Fair will be twice as large this year, said fair host Charlie Strickbin. It's no boast. The fair has doubled in size of the area enjoyed by visitors and vendors. Now, Tiki, I'm reading. That's big news to those festival goers who count the fair as an essential April event in Ann Arbor. Estimates of last year's crowd at the fair and the associated event Hash Bash range from 8,000 to 15,000 people. Our fair extends westward all the way to State Street, Strickbin said. There will be more portable toilets this year, he told TCC, and more than 40 vendors will support the fair, including Michigan-based companies like the legendary smoke shop BDT's Pipe and Tobacco, The Grow Show, and Death to Reggae Apparel. Monroe Street Fair's reputation extends internationally, as evidenced by the Tokyo band Mugen Hoso, I'm going to say that wrong, leading the musical lineup. The presence of vendors like California-based Weed Maps, Indiana's 13 Glass Company, and a trimmer manufacturer from San Diego. The fair features both music and talented speakers during the 6-hour-long event, and this year's headliner is once again the iconic marijuana culture figure Tommy Chong. Chong, who had headlined both the Hash Bash and the Monroe Street Fair last year, will pull the same feat off again in 2016. The comedian, actor, a medical marijuana patient, will give a brief speech during Hash Bash and later deliver a longer time on the microphone during the fair. Visit Monroe Street Fair's website here. As he did last year, Chong will lead the fair's attendees in a countdown to 4:20 p.m. See the video. The fair runs from noon until 6 p.m. Chong will also have a booth at the fair where he will be doing autographs, posing for photos, signing memorabilia, and selling merchandise. Tokyo-based rock band Mugen Hoso is the lead artists on the musical side of Monroe Street. The Japanese punk rockers are kicking off their summer tour season right here in Monroe Street, Strackbin boasted. They should take the stage approximately at 3:20 and finish in time for Chong to do the countdown. Other musicians taking the stage, as MSF included Ann Arbor's reggae artist King Jazzy, the Bronze Membas, which Strickbin describes as a lot like Led Zeppelin, fun rock and roll, the Kung Fu Lovers, and Ann Arbor's own Black Note Graffiti. It's nearly impossible to talk about the Monroe Street Fair without mentioning the Hash Bash. Both events have grown together for more than a decade. This is the 15th anniversary of the MSF, and Hash Bash celebrates their 46th year in 2016. As with Tommy Chong, some of the speakers on stage at the DIAG during the Bash also speak during intermission at Monroe Street. The events work well together, are extremely close to each other, and attendees of both Bash flood the fair after the microphones are turned off. The emergence of the Monroe Street Fair as a major event has helped to launch Hash Bash into the event it has become, Strackbin said. Every year, we get more and more press coverage. We expanded this year to double the size of the fair. That'll make it easier for people to move about and enjoy everything we have to offer. Let's take a look at this video they mentioned.
When we get close to the time, it's kind of down for me, okay? And listen, there's a lot of, I understand there's some people that are having some bad trips. And so what I want everybody to do is help me mellow them out, okay? I'm going to mellow cheeks out with the ohm, okay? Are you ready? Let's ohm. Instead of the ball dropping New Year's Eve, we'll have the first joint puffed on 420. So everybody light up with me, because we're going to do this together now.
I'm already smoking!
And if you don't have it, stand next to somebody that has. I'm quite sure you are doing that already. Are we ready? 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, choke!
If that's it, oh yeah!
On a serious note, though, just recently I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and so I started dosing myself with THC. At first I just dosed myself by smoking it, but apparently that wasn't working, so I had to go to a doctor and he told me how to do it. And it's actually a very nice way to do drugs, especially if you're smuggling them across the border to South. But I just, a lot of people ask me about my cancer and how it's doing. And last time I got tested, I was really cancer-free. And they asked, the straight doctors asked me, well, how does that work? How do you know it works? Well, it works. And I don't know the scientific explanation of why marijuana kills cancer cells. Here's my version. Here's what I think happens, is that if you do enough THC or cannabis, the cancer cells get so fucked up they forget why they're there. And they just wander off. And just say, wouldn't that be a good way to fix our government, If everybody that was really fucking stupid and kept trying to keep this illegal, if they would just, really stone and forget why they're there and just fuck off. That would be great.
Hell yeah.
But it doesn't matter because we're winning the war. We've won the war, actually. Now, all we got to do is get the political prisoners out of jail that we jailed on, unconstitutionally and unfairly. They're still in jail right now. And then the next thing we got to do when we get rich enough from selling this shit, that we hire the best lawyers in the world to get our money back that the government forfeited when we took it from us. The forfeiture laws, we got to get paid back, and we got to get paid damages for the pain that we suffered during the war. So that's what we're going to do. And there's one more other thing I want to do, is that I think we need help in Washington. And so what I want to do, I want to create a government post. It's called the People's Drug Czar. And I want to be the first to announce that I'm running for that post. And the way you vote me in is that you send me $1.
So you've been one of the most outspoken advocates for legalization and marijuana reform, but recently the marijuana lobby dropped you from their lobbying efforts. What do you think of their change of heart?
Well, I understand where they're coming from, because for years I've been the face of the outlaw, the Cheech and Chong persona. And so I understand exactly where they're coming from, and I think it's a good move because it's going to create a buzz amongst the everybody. I mean, why are they dropping Tommy John? Because all I've ever done is promote the medical use of marijuana. And because I consider all marijuana use medical use. Recreation is a medical term, used in the war. For R&R, you had to have your recreation. So I understand totally, but again, I think it's going to kind of backfire on the people that are trying to eliminate me from speaking out, because that will never stop. And I think that the people in Washington, I think they would rather talk to me than some of the people that they're going to be talking to, because I represent a photo op and a press release.
Well, thanks for joining us, Tommy. It's always a pleasure speaking with you. Let us know what you think. Reach out in the comments below or on Twitter at Yahoo Finance.
Okay. Oop, Kelly, do you know where you're at? I suck. That's not even the whole song. That's like just parts of it. I suck. Okay. So next story. Stop fucking around. The Cannabis. California marijuana jobs hunt at a cannabis career fair in San Francisco.
The Cannabis. California marijuana jobs hunt at cannabis career fair in San Francisco. Looking for marijuana jobs? Here's the exclusive line on a pre-420 cannabis job fair in San Francisco, California. Once an emerging trend and now a major industry's necessity, marijuana job fairs are becoming more and more common throughout the United States, legal and semi-legal cannabis markets. And California medical marijuana company Bloom Farms will announce its fourth marijuana job fair later today. the SF Bay Area Cannabis Career and Job Fair on April 10th. Companies at the fair will include Meadow and Harborside Health Centers. Open positions include bud tenders, cannabis consultants, cultivation, tech, and delivery drivers. Last year's event saw more than 1,800 attendees, according to Bloom Farms. But the more important 2015 stats are these ones. 26 employees hired 125 workers at last year's event. Sounds like legit California marijuana jobs in a still developing job fair space that sometimes opts for publicity flash over actual cannabis companies looking to hire. The last San Francisco Bay Area Cannabis Career and Jobs Fair in July helped hundreds of job seekers take their first steps towards a new career in the medical cannabis industry. This Bloom Farms director, Michael Ray, this will be our fourth industry specific career fair for cannabis job seekers. This career fair represents a shift in the way people view the medical cannabis industry. We're chipping away at the negative social stigma that exists around marijuana by helping great job candidates find great companies to work for. April's San Francisco Bay Area Cannabis Career and Job Fair will take over City Nights, 715 Harrison Street in San Francisco from 12 to 4 p.m. April 10th. Admission is free. Attendees must be 18 or older and must have a doctor's recommendation. The fair's website says business attire is strongly suggested. Their emphasis. Bloom's Farms Cannabis Career and Job Fair is one of the only recruiting events that truly caters to the cannabis industry, said Misty Jung, Harborside Health Center's human resource recruiter. Since participating in the last two fairs, we've hired 4 qualified and quality applicants to our team.
Okay, so that's all the stories for Wednesday, and all the bong tokes, and I'll see you tomorrow, and you stay high, and goodbye, and take it easy, and we'll see what more stories we come up with. I keep hearing these whiffs that maybe Obama will do something, and I think honestly this is as much as we're going to see out of him. You know, somebody else said he's got too many other things on the hook that are admittedly, okay, important, maybe I would argue not as important or overreaching or would touch his legacy so deeply. But I mean, this is also a gamble. I get that, you know, that you would have to be one brave motherfucker to do this. So at least you see this is more of him pivoting the presidency in this direction and the Democrats. Okay, so at least it is a positive thing, even though I think it's, you know, let's go. Let's cut to the chase. Let's stop with this drama of unleashing things once at a time and dribble this. Fuck that shit. Let's open the floodgates. Kick down the doors. You know, that's how I feel about it. All right, so I'll see you tomorrow. Adios.